What's going on, everyone? Oh man, it feels good to be back. We are on the cusp of week 1 for the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the NFL already started last night with a rather interesting game, Cowboys-Eagles, with the little delay in between there. The game went on really, really late, but I will say was an interesting one at that. But man, we are back. How's everyone doing in the chat? If you guys could leave a like on the stream on your way in, it helps support the channel a ton. I'm trying a little bit new of a setup on my stream. I'm still using OBS like I have been, but I'm kind of incorporating some StreamYard stuff, as you can see here. So like, for example, Spitgate, that's hilarious. For example, right? So now, if you guys comment, I can put it up on the screen so I can be like, okay, we're talking about this, right? So Trent asks, I'll give this a little test here. Trent asks, do you think Hobbs will go week 1? So we did just see a little bit of an update on Nate Hobbs. And Matt LaFleur said Nate's a dog. He's a great competitor, and that's why we got him. He's really worked hard at doing all the little things to put him in a position to potentially play on Sunday. That's really good news from Matt LaFleur himself. He's not someone to typically, say things unless he actually believes they're going to happen, right? So that's good on Matt LaFleur to kind of like put that out there, but also hopefully Nate Hobbs can end up playing. I think that would be huge if he's able to play, but at the same time, like we shouldn't need to rush him back, or should I say we shouldn't rush him back, with a short week right after, right? We have the Commanders right after on Thursday. Yes, this is a division game, so you want to be at your full strength. So that's a big thing. But yeah, we'll see if Nate Hobbs ends up playing in this game. So, welcome to everyone joining the live stream. Just wanted to try that out real quick, putting the chat on the screen, because again, I'm just working through some new things on the live, and what better time to do it than a game preview rather than the actual watch party I'll do on Sunday during the game. So if you're new here, we do game previews every single Friday. We just dive down into both teams, look at some advanced stats, mainly look at some of the lineups here on PFF, and go through everything in between for both teams, and just dive and break it all down, really. Just break it all down. We've a donor from MS Sports Review 31. He says, I'm assuming you say who has a bigger year, Quay or Wyatt? Man, it's got to be Devontae Wyatt. Like, as much as I like Quay Walker and I liked what he did last year, kind of like getting better as the year went on, I think it has to be Wyatt, just due to the fact that, he's going to be a full-time starting 3-tech now, where last year, we had Kenny Clark there because we had Slayton at nose tackle, and Wyatt was kind of sprinkled in, kind of had some injuries here or there, couldn't really get going, did at some points, but then got hurt. I think, Wyatt has the ability now, or at least the snaps to be able to put up a big year, and I'm really hoping he does. Let me just check a couple things real quick, make sure we are live. We are good. Just wanted to check everything, make sure we're all good. Chris, what's up? All right, so without further ado, let's waste no more time. Let's stop jibber jabbering and let's get into this thing. Let's bring the screen up. And here we are on our tried and true PFF game preview profile here that we used every single game preview last year. And I really like it because it kind of gives you team metrics. It gives you the quarterback comparison in terms of advanced metrics. It gives you the betting lines if you're interested in that. It gives you the team records. Obviously, that'll become more relevant as the season goes on. The injuries, it's not necessarily up to date, but they do show with the Lions, like how many players are actually injured for this football team. Aleem McNeil on the PUP, Malcolm Rodriguez, Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Pascal on the NFI, Ezekiel Turner's on IR. I mean, the Lions are banged up on the front seven, and I talked to Dosa Dion yesterday. He doesn't think it's going to be an issue, but I mean, when you have a lot of guys down there that haven't played many snaps against a team like the Green Bay Packers, there's a chance to, kind of run the ball, I think, decently well against this Detroit front, especially without guys, like Aleem McNeil, Levi Onwuzurike. Aleem McNeil is a huge absence for them, like absolutely huge. And that's big for the Green Bay Packers getting this game going by running the football. Okay, so let's first take a look at team metrics here. Grayson, what's up? What's up, everyone in the chat? Let's first look at team metrics here. So these ranks, I believe, are still from last year. I don't think these are preseason. I believe these are the ranks from last year, because I know these stats are definitely from last year. So I would assume the ranks, and this is based off of PFF. So it's not like, it's not any specific stat for these ranks, like overall offense, defense, and all that. It's just based on their PFF grades is basically what I'm trying to say. So the Lions were 5th overall in terms of PFF last year. The Packers were 6th, so very close. Defense, the Packers were 7th, so they had a top 10 PFF defense. The Lions were 12th. Now the Lions had the second offense on PFF, where the Packers had 8th. I think this Packers team can be even better, and they should. Obviously, acquiring Micah Parsons is huge, and getting him on this defense, I think, can do wonders. And what Jeff Hafley is going to be able to do with him is very, very intriguing. Okay, so for the running and passing, both the Lions and the Packers last year, heavy run teams. Like the Packers ran 47.4% of the time. The Lions actually a little bit less. It's funny because, like, when you dive down into both teams and you're kind of thinking about the Detroit Lions, one of the first things you think of is they're a running football team. But not only did the Packers run more than the Lions, they actually ran more efficiently. Now, given it was only by 0.1 yards per carry, but the Packers ran more efficiently last year as a team than the Detroit Lions, and they ran the football more. So the Packers are a power running football team. They will continue to run the football with Josh Jacobs. They got heavier, they got beefier on the offensive line, signing Aaron Banks this offseason, sliding Elton Jenkins over to center, I think will do a lot for this offensive line in terms of running the football. So that's definitely a big key is getting yourselves to easier downs on second down, third down against the Detroit Lions, making it easy for your offense, making it easy for Jordan Love. And they're going to continue outrunning the football here against the Lions, as they should, with all their injuries down low. Percentage of pass plays, obviously, is the opposite half. Packers 52.6%. The Lions 54.8%. EPA per run, you could see in terms of EPA, the Lions were more of an efficient run team. Now, the Packers had more yards per carry, but in terms of EPA, which is an advanced metric, the Lions were higher. And in terms of EPA per pass, the Lions were higher, 0.22, where the Packers were 0.13. Now, looking at the quarterbacks, this is a big, big thing for this game, right? I want you to take a look, and this is the biggest difference of all starting quarterbacks from clean to under pressure in terms of quarterback rating is Jared Goff. When clean, passer rating of 120.3. When under pressure, 74.9. It's the biggest difference of all starting quarterbacks in the NFL from clean to under pressure. We have to get pressure on Jared Goff to win this football game. Obviously, Micah Parsons is really good at getting pressure. Now, he's going to play. I have full belief that Micah Parsons is going to play, but how much? I think that's kind of the question at this point. I think all the back stuff was damage control. It was smoke. I think he has a, facet joint issue in his back, but it's a lot of players do. It's a common thing. I don't believe he's receiving an epidural before kickoff. But at the same time, he just got, onto this roster. He's just learning, but, he wants to go full speed 24/7. So it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, but the Packers may play it a little bit safe here and put Micah Parsons on a snap count. I think they will. And do have a heavy rotation at edge with Lucas Van Ness, who's been preparing all offseason to be a starter. JJ Enagbare, Brenton Cox Jr., Barron Sorrell looks already ready to go, which is great to hear. But if it's a pure passing down, or say 2nd and 10, 3rd and 7, which again isn't even a pure passing down when you're talking about the Detroit Lions, Micah Parsons has to be out there. Micah Parsons has to be out there, and whether or not, I don't believe he's going to get the 82% of snaps that he got with Dallas all last year in week 1. I just feel like he's not going to because they're easing him into things. We know how the Green Bay Packers orchestrate with that sort of thing. Plus, if there is a little bit of back tightness, I'll call it, with the facet joints, yeah, they're not just going to be like, bam, rush out there. But at the same time, throughout this week in practice, you've seen clips of Micah Parsons hitting the sled, jumping up for a football. Like, the Packers wouldn't be allowing him to do those type of things. And there's no way, shape, or form Doc McKenzie would have signed off if they weren't completely comfortable with the status of his back. I don't have any concerns. So, yeah. Nice guy Rick says, let's see. Hello, people saying can't stop the run. Bro, should look at some highlights. Dude can stop the run. Yeah. So Micah Parsons is actually pretty solid against the run. I watched a lot of clip cut-ups, tape cut-ups of Parsons. And again, it's a lot of people made the cut up of all his good run defenses rather than some poor ones. But at the same time, the Cowboys never really had a good run defense, a good front seven, and that definitely affects things, right? Micah Parsons is just one player. But in terms of who he is as a player, the guy came into the league as an off-ball linebacker. So a lot of people point at, he's undersized at edge, so he's going to get moved around in the run. I mean, the guy was a linebacker. He had a 93 run grade coming out of Penn State his last season. Like, the guy can defend against the run. I know it's a little bit different, but at the same time, if you're running 4-3 and he's playing kind of like a strong side backer role and you put him on the line of scrimmage on the strong side, like, yeah, that's pretty similar. So I think Micah Parsons is good against the run. He's not great, but at the same time, it's still an upgrade. I think he's better than Lucas Van Ness against the run. I think maybe Rashawn Gary is better against the run. I feel like he contains the edge better, but Micah Parsons is a freak athlete, and you're going to see him make plays in the run, whether it's a read option or an outside zone run or a wide run, a toss, something of that sort. Like, you're going to see his athleticism poke through during this season. Robert Hogan, appreciate the super sticker, man. Appreciate you a lot. Thank you so much. All right, so as for Jordan Love, his passer rating, a little bit of a difference, but not as much as Jared Goff. 102 when clean, 72.6 when under pressure. Obviously, protecting Jordan Love is huge. We saw week 1 last year, injury to his knee due to him getting hit pretty bad, right? So we got to protect Jordan Love. That's a huge thing. Obviously, our offensive line seems pretty healthy right now. Obviously, Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins had back injuries throughout camp. Elton Jenkins is still on the injury report with a back injury. I don't believe Banks is, right? Yeah, Aaron Banks is not on the injury report. That's great to hear. So going to be important to obviously protect Jordan Love. Kevin Chavez says our pass rush defense is going to help our secondary tremendously. Yeah, I agree. That's a huge thing, man. It's so massive that, like, if you get to the quarterback quicker, obviously your cornerbacks are going to look better. And Micah Parsons kind of said this perfectly yesterday. He said, I haven't had a season where we didn't have a Pro Bowl or an all-pro cornerback. It's because I get to the quarterback so quick, so I'm going to be making our guys back there a lot of money. It's so true, because if you fluster the quarterback, and that's why pressures are an important stat. Like, a lot of people will go and look at only sacks, and they'll be like, who cares if they get pressure? Like, sacks are what matter, which, yes, getting sacks on a quarterback is huge, but pressures are also massive. Pressures affect every single play. If you get said pressure, how the quarterback gets the football out to his receiver, how the quarterback has timing with his receiver, it all is affected, and it makes your cornerbacks' jobs that much easier. So it is very, very important to get pressure. And Micah Parsons, I fully believe will get a decent amount of pressure. Let me just move one thing up on my stream. There we go. Just wanted to make sure the chat isn't clipped off by my game preview bar at the bottom there. So Jordan Love, in terms of big time throw percentage, actually has a higher one than Jared Goff, 3.24%. Jared Goff, 2.94%. And turnover worthy play percentage. A lot of people that either are Lions fans or non-Packers fans, when they compare Jordan Love and Jared Goff, they go, well, Jordan Love is a turnover machine. Like, he turns over the football a lot. And I think a lot of it had to do with his lack of mobility last year. When he couldn't extend the play, kind of just, I got to give my guy a shot, throw the ball up there. Jared Goff, albeit it's by 0.01, Jared Goff had a higher turnover worthy play percentage than Jordan Love in 2024. 3.25%. Jordan Love at 3.24%. So take that into account, right? Like Jordan Love actually had a lower turnover worthy play percentage than Jared Goff. So I'm just reading a couple of chats. Arturo says it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. I waited so long to hear that. How beautiful. Yeah, see, the Packers, like, they've always had their edge rushers get like 60 to 65% of snaps, but when you looked at Micah Parsons as a Cowboy, it's like 82%. That's once he's fully ready to go, like that's where it should be. Like it's hard to keep him off the field. I 100% agree. Same with Edgerrin Cooper. He's got to play 100% of the snaps. Let's read this chat real quick. With Kenny Clark having a down year and being traded, how hesitant do you think Goot will be to give a third contract to anyone not named Love, mostly Gary? I mean, here's the thing. The Packers are always very hesitant on giving third contracts. So I don't think much is going to change in that regard, even with what happened with Kenny Clark. I just think that's how the Packers operate. It's usually like a 2-contract thing, and then they're drafting players to eventually replace you. I still think they're going to operate by that way. Obviously, when you have outliers like a Jordan Love, a Micah Parsons, it doesn't matter. But I still think they're going to operate that way. All right, let's get into the lineups. So this is why I really like PFF in terms of doing my game previews. Whether you believe the grades or you think, okay, PFF is inconsistent, which I would agree. A lot of times they are. This still gives you a nice little like outlook of different personnel and how the defense is looking for a team, how the offense is looking for a team. I like it. It's like visually appealing. I'm like a visual learner. So a lot of times if it's just like a list of players, it's like kind of, I don't know. I just like this better. It's easier to kind of look at and whatnot. And you can also even change personnel. Like you could put the Lions into nickel here. We'll start them in base, and we'll go over the Lions defense. So obviously we know how good the safety room is for the Detroit Lions. Kirby Joseph was the #1 ranked safety in 2024, and he played like it. Brian Branch was also, in my opinion, a top 5 safety. He was ranked 5th, and I fully believe he was a top 5 safety, 83.7. And what they can do with Brian Branch back at safety and the nickel, move him around a lot. It's you got to be aware where both of these guys are. And the Packers are going to want to take their shots. They're going to want to set things up to get one-on-one opportunities for guys like Matthew Golden. And they have to set that up through the run. But they are going to get opportunities, but you do have to be aware where these guys are, right? Kirby Joseph is a ball hawk. Brian Branch, ball hawk. So it's going to be very, very important for Matt LaFleur to, at all times, and Jordan Love for that matter, to know where those guys are at. As for their linebackers, Alex Anzalone, I really like him in Detroit. I feel like he's a good role player, like a good linebacker that just kind of does his job, makes a play here or there. Then they have Jack Campbell at the mic. He was a 10th highest graded linebacker out of 84. And then they also have Derek Barnes at the other side linebacker. I don't believe, actually, I think the Lions do play a ton of base. I believe last year they played around like, I think it was like 38, 41% of base. I think the Packers are at like 32, 33% of base. And I think that'll go up. I think the NFL is trending that way, more base rather than nickel. We were kind of in that era of a ton, like every team was playing almost exclusively nickel. And I think we're finally starting to get back into base, more of base. And I think the Lions, Packers are two teams that will play a lot of base this season, in my opinion. But we'll also see nickel as well. Mark says Kirby is also a guy that likes to go for knees a lot. Hopefully he's not injuring anyone. Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully no injuries here on Sunday. We don't want to see any injuries. As for the defensive line, this is where the Lions get pretty light, right? We know Hutch is returning from injury. I'm excited to see how he does. I hope he does absolutely nothing, but it's still cool to see him back on the football field, especially after an injury like that. You don't want to see an injury like that to any player. And Hutch is such a damn good ball player. Outside of when they play the Packers, I do like watching Aiden Hutchinson go to work. He was the first graded edge out of 119 last year, and he was playing like it, man, before that injury. So I'm interested to see how he returns. And early already, he's slated to be the comeback player of the year. Obviously, a lot of games to play, but I feel like he has an easy course to be comeback player of the year for sure. On the other side, we have Marcus Davenport, who I don't even know has ever played a full season. you could see some good years in 2019, 2020, 2021. Spent some time with the Vikings, I believe. He's been on a couple teams. I know he got drafted to the Saints. I believe he was the player that the Saints traded with the Packers, went up and got Davenport. We traded down and selected Jair. I'm pretty sure this is who that trade involved. So he's on the Lions, and I was talking to Dion about it, and he's actually very hyped for Davenport. But it's like, can he stay healthy? That's a big thing. And if he can't, and he gets hurt in this game, which I don't foresee happening, but they're very, very light on edge. As for the inside, they did bring in DJ Reader. He's a solid defensive tackle. He's good against the run. And they also have Roy Lopez. Now, they did draft Tyleik Williams, move it to nickel here. He was someone I was very, very high on coming out of this draft. And I really liked him coming out of Ohio State. And I was like, damn, I wish the Lions didn't get him at 28. Not that I thought the Packers should have selected him at 23 by any means. I just didn't want Tyleik to fall to a NFC North rival. I really liked him. I think he was very underrated coming out. You know, you've guys like JT Tuimoloau and Sawyer at the edges at Ohio State. And I feel like a lot of their success was on the back of Tyleik Williams. He took a lot of double teams in the middle of that defense. He was kind of like the star of that defense, in my opinion, like the guy that did it all in the middle. So I really, really like Tyleik, and we'll see if we see much of him in this first game. As for the cornerbacks, DJ Reed, can't lie, wanted him this offseason. Can't even lie. So as much as I want to talk crap, I can't, because I like DJ Reed in this free agency class. Dion made a good point yesterday when I was chatting to him. DJ Reed's an interesting signing for them because he doesn't really play exactly how all the other cornerbacks for the Lions play, right? Like they like to play physically, man coverage, press, where DJ Reed more of zone coming out of New York, right? But he still can do it. But I'm interested how he's going to fit into their scheme. We know how good Amik Robertson was last year, even given, you know, that the grade wasn't the best. He did pretty well against the Packers both times. And then we have Terrion Arnold. You know, I think he had the most holding calls against him last year. I knew he held a lot, had a lot of penalties on him. And the Lions are going to do that. They're going to play physical and just say, well, they're going to call a few, but they're not going to call all of them, and we're going to get away with some. And I respect it. Like, I want a defense to play physicals, and I hope the Packers do it as well. It really depends what reffing group you get as well. But here's the thing. Like, I'm so hyped for Matthew Golden. I think he can have a day against Terrion Arnold. I think he can have an absolute day against Terrion Arnold. I think Matthew Golden has the speed. He has the ability to hand fight, to fight off that grabbing, that physicality. He does a good job with body control, separating himself from the defender's hands. I think he does a really good job there. So I'm really excited for this matchup. Terrion Arnold versus Matthew Golden. King Hill said, let me bring this up. He said Tom shutting, where we go? Tom shutting Hutchinson down. He could. Dude, he could. And that's a good point, because Zach Tom, 6th highest graded tackle, and that's all tackles, left tackles and right tackles in the NFL last year. And it's going to be a good matchup, obviously. Hutchinson, you know, returning from injury. Let's see what kind of, you know, shape he's in, I guess. It's hard to predict, but we know what Zach Tom is at right tackle. That's for sure. As for the rest of the Packers offensive linemen, Rasheed Walker is starting at left tackle. We'll see how long that lasts throughout the NFL season. The Packers are itching to put Jordan Morgan at left tackle. I thought he had a phenomenal preseason at left tackle, but I think that the Packers are also going, okay, let's start Sheed there, and we have Morgan in case of any injury on the interior, right? If Jenkins gets hurt, Ryan slides to center, Morgan in at right guard. If Ryan gets hurt, Morgan in at right guard. If Banks' back issue flares up, Morgan in at left guard, where it's like if we had Morgan at left tackle, Sheed isn't playing any of those positions. So it gives them a little bit more flexibility right now to go, okay, let's let this thing play out. Let's see how the players with injuries throughout camp, Banks and Jenkins with the back injuries, see how that goes. And then, you know, if they remain healthy and Walker's having, you know, some performance issues, let's put Sheed in at left tackle. It just gives them a lot of flexibility here. So I get what they're doing. And plus, it's the last year of Sheed's deal. You kind of want him to play. So at least a team signs him to a Dan Moore contract, and then you get a 3rd round comp pick, considering we don't have first rounds for the next 2 years. You want to get as many middle round picks as possible. So I'm very comfortable in this Packers offensive line. I think they're a very, very solid unit. They were top 3 last year, and I think they're going to be top 3 yet again this year. Zimvision, I think. Sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. I would personally put Tom at center if Jenkins goes out. So I agree that Zach Tom would be a tremendous center, but then who are you throwing at right tackle? You know, that's kind of my problem there. Sean Ryan's taken backup center reps all of camp, and he's done a good job at it. I don't think I would uproot Zach Tom at right tackle if that happened. You're not going to put Jordan Morgan there. I don't believe he's ever taken snaps at right tackle. You're not going to throw in Anthony Belton, that's for sure. Right? So as much as I agree that Zach Tom would be a phenomenal center, I just don't think you can really do it in terms of like the personnel at all. Thoughts on Anthony Belton starting, oops, I actually clicked the wrong one, but it was relevant. Belton at right tackle. Thoughts on Anthony Belton starting eventually, not this year. I think it's a redshirt year for Anthony Belton. I think in the future, yeah, he's going to be, in my opinion, I always saw guard. Like when I saw Anthony Belton drafted, watched the tape, looked at the type of player he was, it reminded me a lot of a young Aaron Banks. And I'm like, guard. Like that's what he's going to be in the future. Now the Packers have only played him at tackle this preseason, but that's likely because we have a lot of depth at guard, right? We have Jordan Morgan to play guard. We have Jacob Monk, and then 3 other guys that are starters. Well, 2 other guys that are starters, Donovan Jennings, right? Them as well. So I think in the future, Belton is a guard, but he could also, but here's the thing, like where does he fit in at tackle in the future, right? If Zach Tom's our future or all-time tackle at right tackle for God knows how long, I hope forever, and Jordan Morgan's our full-time left tackle of the future, where does Belton fit in? In my opinion, it's guard. Ryan's on the last year of his deal. You know, we just signed Aaron Banks to mega money, right? The center, Elton Jenkins, might be gone next year. The Packers will figure that out. I think it's right guard. I really do. I really do. All right, let me scroll down on my chat here. Mark says Ryan had a lot of center snaps in the preseason. Guess he's second string for now. I liked what I saw. From Sean Ryan at center. So if there is an issue to Elton Jenkins, I'm fine with Sean Ryan playing center. Then you plug Jordan Morgan in at right guard. I'm completely fine with that. Okay, Packers receivers. So we don't see Matthew Golden out here. He's going to start. Matthew Golden's going to get plenty of snaps week 1. You better believe it, and I'm hyped for it. We have Tay Wicks, who's recovering from a calf injury. Hasn't practiced he did practice this week, but while training camp was going on, like open to the public, he didn't practice since the calf injury, but he has returned to practice, limited Wednesday, Thursday, probably will be limited again today, maybe full if we're lucky. Wicks will play, and so will Reed, I think. And Dobbs will definitely play. Dobbs is not even on the injury report. Jayden Reed, obviously, this is a big topic right now. It's like, what are we going to get from Jayden Reed if he is playing through this Jones fracture? It hasn't been confirmed yet that it's actually a Jones fracture, right? There was the article by, I think it was Jason Wilde. He put it out that it is a Jones fracture, but I really haven't heard like confirmation for that since. I think he definitely has a foot injury, but is it actually a Jones fracture? Nonetheless, he's hurt. Like he's playing through something, which is a concern because it doesn't take much to have that flare up or get worse if it is a Jones fracture. And Reed's a big part of this offense. But here's the thing, guys, like Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden, even Romeo Dobbs, they can all play in the slot. The Packers are going to be running a lot of 12 personnel, which doesn't involve a slot receiver anyways. And that's what I really view them doing this week because Jayden Reed is a little bit injured or a lot bit injured. We don't know. I think they're going to run a lot of 12 personnel. So actually, let me do that real quick. There's your 12 personnel, right? You have Matthew Golden out here. You have Romeo Dobbs out here. You have 2 tight end sets against a banged up, quote unquote, weak defensive line of the Lions. I feel like that's the route you go if you're the Packers this week. Do you guys agree? Right? 2 tight ends, and we know Tucker Kraft is a dog. Musgrave looked good this camp and kind of showed us like, hey, let's start running some more 12, right? Like, let's get some more 12 personnel out here with both of these tight ends and get this thing going. I fully believe that we will see more of that. You know, Musgrave kind of been banged up his first 2 years. Hopefully he can stay healthy and stay on his feet. But I like the thought of more 12 personnel this year. You know, play bigger, especially against the Detroit Lions. Play more physical. Right? You have Josh Jacobs at running back, the 3rd highest graded running back all season last year, one of the better running backs last year. Jordan Love, an injured year, even a 75.8. I think I think Love, it's going to be a big year for him due to him being healthy, you know? Key Orzi joining in as a Lions fan. I've been, that was not wrong one. My bad. There we go. Key Orzi. There we go. As a Lions fan, I can definitely say at the very least, I think we can all agree that the division is going to be the most interesting this season. Yeah, man, I agree. The NFC North is absolutely insane. Like last year it was great. And I don't think we'll have 3 teams in the playoffs like we did last year. And I don't think collectively all the wins like will be as high as last year, but it's still a damn good division. Like it could go any way. Like any one of these teams outside of, in my opinion, the Bears could win the division. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's such a good division. Lions are a tremendous football team. Packers, just traded for Michael Parsons. Love is healthy. The Vikings have a phenomenal defense. Like if JJ McCarthy starts cooking, like that team is maybe even better than they were last year. Depends, right? Like no one expected Sam Darnold to do that with that team, but he did. So tremendous division, man. I'm excited. Very, very excited, man. So speaking of excited, man, Matthew Golden, come on. I am so damn hype that the Packers finally selected a receiver in the first round, and what we've seen from him so far in camp and preseason and every practice, dude's making plays left and right like he's a veteran. Man, I'm just so ready for Sunday. I got chills just thinking about, just a go ball to Matthew Golden on Terry and Arnold. Just, oh man, I'm so excited for it. It's just, the hype is beyond, what I can even like think about. I don't have many words because I'm so hyped for Matthew Golden. And he switched to number 0. Like, come on. It's crazy. I'm hyped for it. All right, so let's switch to Packers defense and the Lions offense. But before we do so, gotta give a massive shout out to Sleeper, partnering with them for the 2025 season. It's pinned in the chat. Go check out Sleeper. Use code BASS, BAS, for a 100% deposit match up to $100. Sleeper is my favorite fantasy football app to use. It's the UI is like so clean, so easy to use. I have a Dynasty League on there. Really excited for year 2 of Dynasty. I was the worst team year 1, so I got Ashton Genty. So I'm hoping my team this year could be a little bit better. But I really love playing fantasy on Sleeper. But it's not just a fantasy app, right? You can also make your picks for the upcoming games. I already made mine, as you can see on the side of the screen. And obviously, I was just hyping up Matthew Golden. So, of course, I'm taking 40-plus reception yards, more than that, in one of my picks. Jared Goff, more than a half an interception. If we get pressure like I believe we will, Jared Goff will give you some chances to get an interception. Saw that Texans game. He threw 5 of them, right? I have Jordan Love more than 200 passing yards. If Matthew Golden's cooking like I believe, the Packers use some 12 personnel, get tight ends behind linebackers. I could see the Packers and Jordan Love throwing for more than 200 yards. And then Tucker Kraft, as I just said, right? More 12 personnel, Kraft getting behind the linebackers underneath the safeties, kind of finding that soft spot there. I have him more than 3 receptions, and this is a $10 entry for a potential $40.50. You can do $1 minimum entries. You can win up to 1,000 times payouts. It's free, or it's a fast and easy withdrawal, and it's very, very fun. It's very, very fun. So definitely go check out Sleeper, support the channel. Use code BASS when signing up and making a first-time deposit. That'll get you a 100% match up to $100. All right, let's get this thing into the defensive mode for the Packers. Let's just real quick, guys. Just look right here. Let's take a moment of silence, because that is probably the most beautiful thing I've seen in a long time. Just oh man, it's so great. It's crazy. It's my first game preview actually going into this and seeing that. Like the green and gold background. Come on, guys. This is insane. Like how did the Packers actually do this? Like this was so far, by far, like the most non-Packers thing to do. Like, it's just still insane that this actually happened. And he's a 26-year-old superstar, guys. It's insane. It's insane. The hype is beyond. It's off the charts. Absolutely off the. Look at the grades. Like, I don't think we've had a player like that you click in on them and this is what it shows. Like, ever since doing these game previews. Like, maybe Cooper will be that. Like, I think Cooper will be that. But that's just 1 year. Like, come on. Corgi says Matthew Golden first NFL game and Micah Parsons in Lambeau Field versus a Lions debut. It's going to be insane. If this isn't the loudest the stadium's been in a long time, I'm very disappointed. And if anyone, I saw a good tweet about this. If any Packers season ticket holder is selling their tickets this week, you deserve for them to be revoked, especially if they're going to a Lions fan. Like, revoked. That's bull. No, like, it should be all Packers fans in there. Of course, there will be some Lions fans, but like, this should be loud as all hell. Like, it should be loud in Lambeau this weekend. This is the first home opener in Lambeau in Matt LaFleur's career, which is just crazy. Like, NFL scheduling crew, what are we doing? The fact that 7 years and the Packers haven't had a home opener in Lambeau, and I think it actually spans back farther. In the last 13 years, they've only had 2. Like, why do the Packers get screwed in terms of starting on the road every single damn year? I'm glad we're finally home for the first game, and it's against the Lions, and it's a divisional game, and we got Micah Parsons, and we drafted a receiver in the first round. It's crazy. All right, let's get into this thing. Safeties for the Packers. We know how good X is. Third highest graded safety out of 98, 84.7. You can see the grades here. Coverage grade, he was second. Run defense, 57th, still above average grade. Pass rush, defense, all good. Evan Williams, excited for year 2 of him. He was a guy that just jumped right onto the scene, and it's like 4th round pick out of Oregon. And at the time of the draft, like, I was like, wow, I didn't really like look into Evan Williams at all. Like, 4th round pick. Geez. Okay. Like, let's see what this guy's got. And hey, the Packers knew what they were doing, because Evan Williams, right off the rip, once he had to get pushed into that role, I mean, he looked great. Time and time again, he had some issues, but there's certain games where he just made absolute great plays. I forget who we were playing, but it was like I think a read option at the goal line, and he shut it down on 3rd or 4th down. I forget which game that was, but that was like the first glimpse. You're like, wow, okay, this guy's got it, right? So really excited for year 2 of Evan Williams. As for the Packers linebackers, so again, we're gonna start in base here. We know Cooper is that weak side, flying around, right? Give him 100% of snaps. Like, if we're running base, we're running nickel, hell, even dime. Cooper is the backer out there. Whether it's 1 backer, 2 backer, 3 backer, Cooper is out there every single time. I do not care. I know that's logistically maybe not going to be the case for dime, because Walker has the green dot and he has to relay the information. But the Packers, I think, played dime like 0.5% of the time last year. So really not going to see much dime. So Turtle says Edge of Darkness. I saw John Gruden called him that. I love it. John Gruden's awesome, and that's an awesome nickname. And what's up, So Turtles? Welcome in. I don't know if you've been here, but it's the first comment I've seen. Welcome in. Quay Walker in the middle. Kind of had a rough start to start the season last year, but got better as the year went on. And, he's on a contract year. Let's see how he plays. Let's see if Quay Walker earns a second contract with the Green Bay Packers. Tyron Hopper is right behind, waiting to get in on this defense. And honestly, before the year's over, I think Hopper gets in for McDuffie in base. I know the Packers love McDuffie. Hafley, for some reason, is obsessed with him. And McDuffie, don't get me wrong, he's a serviceable linebacker. Like, by all means, serviceable linebacker. But man, if you get him in space on the edge, I mean, he's cooked. Like, it's not good. If you get him in space covering a tight end, it's not good. Right? And that's why we have Coop and Quay, but I think Tyron Hopper has so much more upside, and the Packers spent a 3rd round on him. Like, are they really going to, hold so true to Isaiah McDuffie if he's struggling, and they have Tyron Hopper just waiting there? Like, come on, let me in. I just had a great preseason, right? So I'm excited to see some Hopper as well. So Turtle said it best. Excited to see some Hopper. I agree. I'm excited for him. I know there was a lot of hate on that pick due to it, quote unquote, being an overdraft by the consensus, but he's looked great in preseason and training camp. And Isaiah McDuffie, I think, got a 2-year deal. So he's here next year, or this year, next year. Well, not guaranteed, but that's what his deal says. As for the cornerbacks, let's keep it in base and do the defensive line first, and then we'll switch it to nickel. Micah Parsons, I mean, Come on. We've already talked about him so much. There's not much that needs to be said, but it just looks so damn great to see this. Rashawn Gary on the other side had a decent grade. His lowest in 3 years, but still not bad, right? We see good run defense, 21st out of 116. Good overall defensive grade, 28th out of 119. And then on the inside. So this doesn't really signify what the Packers are going to come out with on Sunday. We see Wyatt and Brooks, depending on how their alignment is, but Brooks isn't our nose tackle. We know that. He's 300 pounds, so he's not heavier, but he's, a good weight. Like, he could play that, but I think the Packers are going to run either Wooden or Stackhouse at nose this Sunday. It just depends. Maybe it's Stackhouse, and right off the rip, we see an undrafted free agent start for the Packers in week 1, which very well could happen because Clark was slated to be our nose tackle, which, Clark early on in his career for the Packers ran nose tackle, and he was damn good at it. So, the Packers definitely have a hole here. But here's the thing, and I keep talking about it because it's truly what I believe. If the Packers' run defense is bad this year, which it wasn't last year, it was like top 7, it's not because of the loss of Clark. It's because of the loss of TJ Slayton. Like, TJ Slayton 2 years in a row was top 10 run stop win rate, was number 1 in the NFL last year by ESPN's metric run stop win rate. It's going to be because of Slayton being missing. And in hindsight, I guarantee right now, after trading Clark, the Packers going, God damn it, we should have brought back TJ Slayton. It wasn't an expensive contract. But also, Corgis, you make a good point. With Coop, Hopper, and Walker, right? If we have Hopper back there, Cooper back there, Walker back there, our run defense, can ride on the back of our linebackers, especially Edgerrin Cooper, who was tremendous against the run. Oh, so Turtles, that's a good point. Would love to see LVN inside some plays. He played inside at 3 tech, 5 tech for the Iowa defense, so he definitely could. And if the Packers want to go more pass rush on, say, a 3rd and 12, put LVN in there, have Gary, Parsons on the outside, LVN and Wyatt. I mean, that's, oof, man. Oh, man. Rick says, and Slayton wasn't that good at pass rush. Well, he wasn't on the team for pass rush, right? He wasn't on the team for pass rush. He was a gap-filling, run-stuffing defensive tackle, and that's what you want from your nose tackle, and that's what I believe Stackhouse can become. But it's like, I think Stackhouse has a lot to work on. There's flashes in camp and preseason, but he definitely has a decent bit to work on. It's just a matter of, how quickly he gets it all, processing, right? All right, let's move to nickel. Okay, so still shows Brooks, but I think it's going to be Wooden. Could even be Brinson. I'm excited to see the Packers line up on defensive line here in week 1. As for the corners, it doesn't look great PFF-wise, does it, huh, guys? I will say this. I like Nixon on the outside, and what the Packers are doing with their cornerbacks, like how they're, like the type of players they're bringing in, physical ball players. Like that's what the Packers are building at cornerback. We know Nixon. I love his physicality. I love his demeanor. Hobbs is the same way. We saw it early in training camp, like in practice, dudes making huge tackles and almost hurting Marshawn Lloyd. I believe he did suffer an injury from it, but it wasn't from the hit. But Hobbs, like physicality, you love it, right? And that's the same with Nixon and Valentine. It's the type of players the Packers want at cornerback. It's the type of players Hafley wants at cornerback. And like we talked about earlier, if you get enough pass rush, hey, your cornerback's going to look better. Javon Bullard in the nickel. There's a lot of like talk about Bullard and back and forth of, is he a good nickel? Are the Packers forcing him there because Evan Williams worked out, or is he a better safety? I'm kind of split, to be honest. Like, there's times when Bullard's in the nickel and it's like a rundown or we're in zone. I'm like, yeah, he's got it. Like, he's flying around the field. But then there's times in coverage and it's just like, oof. Like, it didn't look great. So I think there's a time and place for Bullard in the nickel. I don't think it's full time. Yeah, that St. Brown versus Bullard, if that happens at all in man coverage, like, no. Like, that's not good. That should not happen at all Sunday, where we see Bullard lined up against St. Brown in man coverage. Like, I don't expect the Packers to play a crazy amount of man, but if they do, I think it's got to be personnel-based, and if Hobbs is playing, you put Hobbs manned up on St. Brown, and then bring in Valentine. That's that's how I see that going. So as for the Lions offense, talked a lot about this offensive line yesterday with Dion. Frank Ragnow retired. Graham Glasgow slid into center, and they have two very young guards. So it's going to take some time to get this thing going. I really like Mahogany coming out of Boston College. Out of that 2024 draft, I'm surprised he fell to the 6th round. He's a guy I kept mocking to the Packers in like the 4th or 5th. I really like him, but he's only played in 142 O-line snaps last year. He had a great grade, but it's minimal snaps, and it was like running situations, like 6 offensive linemen. So he didn't have too many true pass blocking sets, one-on-ones. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Tate Ratledge is another guy I liked coming out of this draft. Extreme athlete out of Georgia, 6'6", 320. Really like Tate. It's a lot of new on the inside of this offensive line, which might be great for the Packers week 1 because it's also a lot of new on the interior of their defensive line. So it's going to be, let's see which one works better, right? Let's see what works. But that's something to monitor. Frank Ragnow never really had great games against the Packers, in my opinion. So maybe Glasgow's a better option there. We know how good they are at tackle. Sewell, I think Gary does a good job against Sewell. Taylor Decker, I don't think was playing the last time we played the Lions. I think it was Dan Skipper. It definitely was. But, when you have Gary and Parsons, I believe we're going to get home. I believe that at some point we're going to get home multiple times. As for quarterback Jared Goff, we kind of already talked about him. Got to get pressure on him. Yeah, Ratledge, that's an offensive lineman. That I wish he was a Packer because that looks like a Packers offensive lineman right there. I love the mullet. Like that's I love it. Jared Goff, we already talked about getting pressure on him. Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm interested to see how the Lions offense changes. I talked yesterday and asked Dion, do we think the creativity remains? And he says, I hope so. But it's Bruce Gradkowski at quarterback coach now. He was at Toledo, kind of did some trick plays here and there. So he thinks it will remain, but to what extent? And then also, will we still see a lot of 2-back things with the Lions, right? Rotation wise. Are they going to be rotating backs a lot? Dion thinks they're going to be running more 2-back sets, like the Packers run, kind of like a pony package. We could definitely see that, but we got to know where Gibbs is at. Got to have contain on him. So fast. In my opinion, on field, one of the fastest players in the NFL when you actually watch him on field. Such a good player. I don't know if this is not a great opinion, but I don't like the switch to 0 for him. I loved 26. I think it was a unique running back number, and I think it fit him perfectly. I don't really like the number switch to 0 for Gibbs. I love it for Golden because 22. It's just okay, a little odd, but kind of cool. But let me know what you guys think. I'm not huge on it. Sam Laporta at tight end. We know how good he can be. He's a good tight end. We're going to have to make sure we have a body on him and not let him get behind the linebackers like he did multiple times against us in both games last year. As for the receivers, you got J-Mo, St. Brown, and Khalif Raymond, but you also have Isaac Tesla, who I think will get some snaps in this game. We know how damn good St. Brown is. He's going to win. He's going to win reps. He's going to catch passes. It's just a matter of containing him, bracketing him up a little bit, put in extra body in that area, right? Just making it a little bit harder. St. Brown's such a good wide receiver. J-Mo, we know the type of speed that he has. He's a deep threat ability. We got to have safety help over top. We know his X has the range to track from middle all the way to side if it's a 9 route or something of that sort. So, I'm not too worried about deep passes by the Lions per se, but they're going to try them off play action. The Lions had the number 1 use of play action, passing out of play action in the entire NFL last year with 43%. So we know they're going to start by running the football, hopefully not successfully, but then they're going to rotate into play action. And the Packers have to be ready for it. We have to stay true at linebacker, stay on your toes, respect the run, but also play the play action. And if it is play action, make sure you robot, right? If you're a linebacker, roboting is so important, right? The moment it's not a run, basically turn around and go track the crosser, because when there's play action, there is most definitely going to be every single time a crosser behind you if you're a linebacker. So it's going to be very important for Cooper and Quay to realize that and get back quickly. And I think Cooper does an excellent job at that. Ty says still hasn't set in that we have Parsons. Dude, I know. It's absolutely insane that we still have Micah Parsons. But that's both lineups. for the Green Bay Packers Detroit Lions matchup here in week 1. The Packers are favorited by 2.5 points. Usually a home game gives you 3. So if it was a neutral site, the Lions would be favored by 0.5 point. We see money line plus 114 for the Lions. The over-under is 47.5. Man, I'm so excited for this game, guys. Obviously, just can't wait for it to finally be here Sunday. I really appreciate you guys coming by to this game preview presented by Sleeper. I do these every single Friday, right around the same time, 12:30, 1 o'clock Eastern. And then I'll also be live Sunday during the game. Unfortunately, I won't be home for week 2 versus the Commanders. I'll be away that weekend up in Rhode Island. But, I'll be live this Sunday for this game, of course. So kickoff's what, 4:25? Is it 4:20 or 4:25? Let me look. Let's see real quick. It is 4:25. So I'll probably be live like 10 to 15 minutes before the start of the game. So, yeah. Really appreciate you guys coming by, though. It's just getting things going, starting with first game preview of the season. Something light, but also something extremely exciting that we have, a divisional matchup here week 1 in Lambeau right after trading for Micah Parsons, drafting a receiver in the first round. The Packers can't come out flat, and if they do, it's going to be an utter disappointment because after all this hype, like, the energy is there, right? Let's play like it. And we need to come out strong, come out fast, not flat like we're used to seeing a lot of the time with the Packers of 2024. But I really appreciate you guys coming by. The injury report, the final injury report of the week will be out probably in a couple hours. So be on the lookout for that on my channel. It'll include all the game designations. And every player is practicing on the Packers yesterday and today. So there's no players that did not participate, which is great to hear. And we'll get the designation for Parsons, for Hobbs, for Reed. And I think that's really the only ones we're going to be looking for designations for. Sorrell, Wicks, Savion, Reed, Parsons, Elton, Hobbs. I guess there's a lot, but I don't foresee any player being ruled out. And as for the Lions, you see Novalsky, Vaki, Jones, Tesla, and Aosika. Vaki will be probably ruled out, same as Novalsky at linebacker, but they have a lot more issues in terms of injured reserve and PUP. But yeah, guys, really appreciate you coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.